Yes, that's right. It's Joe here live for Joyrider TV, back with some more Q&A. Nice to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Hold on. That's better. Yeah, so I think I'm going to launch straight in today with the first preloaded question, just while we're getting revved up for this session. Hello to everybody who's already in live. Great to have you with us on this Friday. But the first question, I actually kind of lifted this from, if you're new to catamaran sailing, by the way, a great place, as well as Joyrider TV, of course, to get advice and to kind of hang out online with other like-minded individuals. Is there's a group called Hobie Cat Sailboats on Facebook, and it is the friendliest, most helpful group on the internet. So this first question, I actually I visit this group occasionally, and I saw this question. I thought this is a good question to have in the Q&A. So this is from Carl Jones, who is quite a new cat sailor. He's got a Hobie Getaway, which today looks like this. And he says, I need to replace the jib. Okay, we can do this, I think. I need to replace the jib, but all the videos I've seen online show people with the boat on a trailer using the winch with some sort of attachment on the mast, which I don't have, just to cut a longer story shorter. Okay, so I think firstly, we need to just establish that to drop the jib, we shouldn't need to lower the mast, because when this boat on the trailer, if it's, here we go, for boats on the trailer, and there's the stand for the front of the mast, winch there, and then that goes up to there. So this sort of system is more for dropping the mast. Yeah, so we're not going to worry about that at all, dropping the mast, because we're just talking about dropping the jib and replacing it. So there's a number of different systems, even on the same type of boat. There might be 5 different systems that people are using. And what I would guess on the Getaway would be most likely is we'll do the big picture, and then we'll do a close-up. Is up here, there'll be a pulley. So we've got our forestay here, pulley in line with the forestay. And let's just do this in a different color. And then we'd have the jib halyard that goes around the pulley. One end goes down there. I haven't drawn this very well, by the way, in case you're wondering. And the other end would go on to the top of the jib, which, God, this is not my finest work. All right, we're doing a bit of panel layout in the jib. And the other end would go onto the top of the jib. So if the close-up, if this is the pulley, then we've got which way round would it most likely go? So to the back would be the sail. So the actual halyard, which we pull the sail up, would run alongside the forestay. So here's the forestay here that's holding the mast up. And then the halyard rolls over the top of the pulley and onto the top of the sail. So there's the sail there, jib. So at the bottom end of the halyard, there could be a number of different things going on there as well. So what it might be is you might have another block at the bottom. This goes under there, and then maybe there's a block here somewhere just to get a bit of purchase, and then a cleat. There might just be, if it's original Hobie, they used to put these cleats on the jib, and then this, let's just try not to get too confusing here. And then the halyard would go through the cleat on the jib, and that is actually what would hold the sail up. It might have a purchase system, so there might be 2 blocks here. All right, we're going blue. So we've got the halyard the same, which comes down like this through the cleat, but it might go round a purchase system, and then maybe tie off to a becket on the bottom of the block there. And that makes, so these sort of purchase systems make it much easier to get good tension on the sail, on the front edge of the sail, which is quite important. So then when it comes to dropping the sail, if you think, all right, first thing, if you have got this sort of system and you want to drop the sail, very important, especially if it's not so easy to get your boat, like easiest thing to do in the world if things go wrong is to get your boat on the grass, tip it onto its side, and then of course you can access everything that's going on up the mast. But if you haven't got that kind of facility accessible, then we need to be a little bit more careful. So what we would like to do is, when we're going to take the halyard out of this cleat, unless we've got quite a lot of rope on this end of the halyard, so if we've got like 10 meters there, if we've got purchase, it's going to have to be pretty long, then that's fine. But otherwise, we just want to make sure that we don't let go of it, because if we uncleat that, take it out of the cleat, and then pull the jib down, this halyard is going to go flying up the mast. And yes, we'll be able to get the old jib down, but no, we won't be able to pull the new jib up. So very important that we hold on to it. And if it is too short, then what we need to do is tie on an extra length of rope, usually something pretty thin, because this rope is just temporary for the pulling up and down of the sail. We call this a lazy line, because once the sail's up, we take it off completely. So we might have to tie a lazy line on, and this would want to be like a 2.5 millimeter, doesn't need to be particularly fancy, could have a polyester core, no need to have like an expensive non-stretch rope, but generally 2.5 mil rope isn't very expensive, even if you've got something with a Dyneema core. Not to be confused with Dyneema itself, like a D12 Dyneema, which is exposed. Sorry if this is getting a bit rope geek kind of talk, but no need for that for this application. Anything will do that is not going to snap. And then basically, once we've got it out of the cleat, we've got plenty of rope, we can then just pull the jib down. And to be honest, I'm not sure how it works on the Getaway. You might have a zip on the luff of the jib on the front edge. So front edge of the jib might actually have a flap of cloth that goes around the forestay and closes with a zip. And it just means that you have to unzip it as you pull it down. Otherwise, it's not going to come down. But if you haven't got that, then easy. Yeah, just pull the jib down, take the shackle off the top of the jib, or untie it if it's tied on, and then you can pull the new jib up in the same way that you just put that one down. Now, the only reason you might have to drop the mast to get your jib down is if the jib hasn't been hoisted with a halyard, if it's actually been put up from when the mast went up, and perhaps the mast is held up using the jib. And there, by far the easiest thing to do is to get the boat back to the shore And ideally, if you've got a nice grassy area where you can tip the boat on, that is great. If you've got a sandy beach, very nice. If you haven't got either of those things, perhaps you've got like a car park, then what you need to do is we're gonna want to tip the boat over, because this is far easier than dropping the mast. And tipping the boat over, you can still inspect all the rigging and everything on a boat like a Getaway. Now, the difference here, sorry, I'm all over the place a little bit, but the difference here would be if, for example, if it was a Hobie 14 with a very small mast, which you can put up and down with one person because it's small and light, then perhaps dropping the mast is easier than having to move the boat and tip it over. But on a bigger boat like a Getaway, certainly on a bigger boat than that, like an F18, then you would certainly want to be tipping the boat over rather than dropping the mast, because dropping the mast on that sort of boat is like a 3-stage thing, which can get quite time consuming. But yeah, so that is what I would do if you are tipping the boat over. How can we here is our boat. What we want to do is, if we're going to tip it over this way, we want to make sure, if we're tipping it somewhere that's not really friendly, like soft grass friendly, tarmac, car park not friendly, that's going to scratch the boat. So we want to put some sort of protection on the side that we're going to tip the boat over on. Very good would be a boat cover rolled up to make like a pad. Really good would be to get some old, like the sort of cushions you'd have in a caravan. That would be really nice. Or fenders, or anything at all that is going to stop the hull from touching the floor. And just make sure, if you haven't tipped one over before, just put more stuff between the hull and the floor than you think you're going to need to. You could use old car tires, but if you are going to use old car tires, put something on top of them before you tip the boat over, because old car tires are dirty. And what they'll do, if you don't have any sort of protection, is they'll leave like a ring of dirt on your hull, which does require some effort to clean off. So just get something over the top of there. So there we go. I think we're going to leave the jib there. I hope that is of some sort of help there, Carl. And thanks for the question, which I kind of intercepted. Thanks for letting me intercept the question to go through it today, because it's nice to have something to get stuck into straight away. Right, I'm just going to rub all that off, and we're going to check in with everybody who's checking in the live chat. Thanks for coming. So firstly, we've got Cuxolly on board in Germany. Great to have you with us as always. Chris is on board in Texas. And what's going on in Texas? That is a very good question. Well, if you are interested in catamaran sailing, and I'm guessing just because of the fact that you're here, you are somewhat interested in the sport of catamaran sailing. One of the main events going on in the USA this summer is in June from the 12th to the 15th in Crystal Beach, Texas, which I believe is on the Gulf of Mexico, as it used to be called. It's the Nacra 50th anniversary regatta, and it is going to be a great event, both on and off the water. So if you happen to have a Nacra class catamaran, any type of Nacra is welcome, then just start planning how you can get to Texas middle of June. If you don't have a Nacra, find somebody that does, or I'm sure on the event website, this is something you can always do. If there's an event going on, you've got the time and opportunity to go to the event, but perhaps you don't have the right type of boat, but you'd really love to be involved, then get in touch with the event. There would usually be a Facebook page, an event on Facebook, or there would certainly be information out there online somewhere. If you can't find it, the people organising the event need to do something about that so they can be found. Get in touch with the organisers, say, I really want to come to the event, but I haven't got a boat. Is there anybody looking for someone to sail with? Does the race organisation need any help? So then that's pretty cool thing to do at an event. If you're not going to sail, is to get out on one of the race organisation craft on the water, whether it's the committee boat who are responsible for starting the races. Maybe it's one of the mark boats who are moving the marks and they're stationed by the marks. You see all of the action. Or perhaps it's some sort of media boat, or could be anything. Or it might just be, is it okay if I come and hang out at the event while it's going on, talk to some sailors and maybe get a ride in between races or something? Always worth getting involved, regardless of your level of experience, because you're always going to come out of an event knowing more than you did before you went. Oh, yes. There we are. So that is middle of June, Texas, this year, Nacra. Incidentally, if you're in Europe, there's also a Nacra 50th anniversary event going on at the start of August, which I believe is on Lake Como, Italy. So if you're in Europe and you want some Nacra action to get going with, then Lake Como, which is just to the north of Milan, in August, that is another great place to go. So there we go. All right, we got Hussein on board. All right. How you doing, Hussein? Great to have you with us. Hussein in Egypt, of course, featured in, I think it was the last episode of Show Us Your Cat. Incidentally, you may be thinking, hold on, we had an episode of Show Us Your Cat. Why haven't we had another episode of Show Us Your Cat? There's a very good reason for this, and that is because nobody has sent me pictures of their boat to show. So unless there's stuff to show, there's no Show Us Your Cat. The same thing goes for the What Went Wrong video series as well. So if you want to see more of this, and perhaps you're sitting on some footage or some photographs, anything like that, then send them in every episode of What Went Wrong, Show Us Your Cat, everything like that. It's all in the video description, what you need to do. And it's the Joyrider TV community who keep these videos coming. There we go. All right. Lenny's with us. Oi, oi, says Lenny. I say oi, oi back, Lenny. Oi, oi, Savaloy. Aye, chicken pie. I think we have Jens is on board as well. Here we go. You're not wrong, Jens. Great to have you with us. Incidentally, if you are in the live chat and you're like, hold on, how come Jens and Hussein are in green? They've got little stars next to their name, and Jens has actually got a Hobie cat emoji. How do I get one of those? You could become a channel member. Oh, yeah. There we go. Right, we got Mr. Tony KP in Mr. Tony KP, I think, is in Ebeltoft, Denmark. Says hello, fellow cat sailors. Stephen's with us somewhere in the Huntingdon area of the UK, I would think. Leland Lee in Clearwater, Florida, always there somewhere near the front of the start line. And then Mark and Janet in snowy Ohio on board also. Great to have you all with us, and everybody else who is on board. Paul is here in Ottawa, Canada. You know me. We all know Paul, of course. Mr. Tropez, greetings from Jersey. How's it going? Met you last year in September. Yeah, it's going very well, thank you. We're deep in the thick of the winter here in the Greek island, on the Greek island, or in the Greek islands. Come on, make your mind up. Yeah, and it is actually, we're hitting the coldest period of the year in Greece at the moment, where there is definitely snow on the mountains. I know, unbelievable. Who'd have thought it? All right, so we are going to proceed on to the next preloaded question. But perhaps before we do that, Sunday, new video coming, and it is going to be the biggest video that I've ever made. Don't know if you're ready for this. And I'm still kind of thinking about the strategy of how I should post the video. It's going to be over 1 hour long. And if you saw the video that of the presentation that I did from the boat show in Germany, it's basically what I was intending to do with that, but my time got cut down, so I couldn't do the whole thing. So I've actually made it bigger, and I'm going to be talking about, I would say every single class of catamaran. So it is literally over 100 different types of boat I'm going to be talking about in this presentation. So it is going to be over an hour long, maybe about an hour and a half long. It's not going to be live, but I will launch it as a premiere, which means while it's going on the first time, there will be live chat. So if you want to type in to chat amongst yourselves, absolutely great. But what my strategic thinking is should I cut it down and put it out as 4 separate videos? But what my YouTube advising friends are suggesting is it's good sometimes to put out a really long video, make sure there's chapters so you can see in the description, all right, so the first set of boats starts at 0, second set 10 minutes, something like that, third set at 25. So you can watch a bit, and then you'll see later on in your watch history, there's the video. So you go back into the video and it will automatically resume from when you left off. So I'm going to put it out as a feature length director's cut edition. Hopefully that will be interesting to many people, because there's quite a lot of hours going into it. So it'd be quite nice if quite a few people saw it. So there you go. Sunday at the usual time for that one. All right, we got Scott dropping it in the slot in Oregon. Great to have you with us, Scott. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. So the next question is from Patrick. And all right, Patrick says, I recently took out my Dart 15. If you don't know what a Dart 15 is, check out the video on Sunday. It's going to be in there. Took it out solo for the first time and found myself getting anxious as the boat picked up speed, especially when sailing downwind. I enjoy speed in other aspects of life, but on this occasion, I found it overwhelming and struggled to slow the boat down. Yeah, it's the downwind point of sail. So let's do the easy bit first. So if this is our wind direction, let's call this, how do we slow down? Because this is actually one of the things that people coming from monohull sailing don't like about catamaran sailing, is this feeling that you're on some sort of runaway train and the boat is doing what it wants to do and you don't have much input into it. That is because on a monohull, all you have to do is let out the main sheet and the boat will stop unless you happen to be sailing straight downwind. So on a catamaran, sailing upwind, how are we going to slow the boat down? And we're just going for the real kind of nuts and bolts, nothing fancy. We'll slow the boat down 2 ways. One is we'll just let the sails out. The more we let the sails out, the more the boat is going to slow down. Second way we can slow down on the upwind point of sail is to turn the boat into the wind. Easy. Maybe I can hear people from a long distance saying, yeah, it's easy to say easy, isn't it? But when you're there, not so easy. But the more you let the sails out on the upwind course, the more the boat is going to slow down. And if you've let the main sheet out as far as it will go and the boat is still not slowing down, it's because either your main sheet is extremely short or you're not actually sailing upwind. All right, so there we go. All right, next point of sail, the beam reach. How do we slow that bad boy down on the beam reach? Again, sails out is going to make a big difference if we want to slow down on the beam reach. But again, if you've let the sails out and the boat isn't slowing down enough to your liking, then we want to then turn the boat up to the wind. Or we could do a combination of the two. Let the sail out, head up into the wind, and your boat is going to slow down pretty quickly. The beam reach is what could be called the most powered up point of sail because our sails are side on to the wind. So sails out, head up, you're going to slow down. So this then brings us on to the most difficult time to slow down, and that is actually sailing downwind. So two different scenarios here. If we're going a bit too quickly and we just want to get rid of some of that speed, then what we can actually do, again, sails out, always going to help, and we'll turn further downwind. Because our optimal angle for best speed, best performance on the downwind point of sail would be something like this, so that the true wind is coming from, let's call this the windward quarter, stern. Our induced wind is, of course, coming from straight ahead. That's the wind that we create by moving forwards, which means the apparent wind, which is the wind that we're actually sailing the boat on, is coming directly across. So this is the most efficient direction to sail the boat on if we're wanting to get from up here to down here. We're going to sail this way, jibe, sail this way. There we go. But if this just feels a little bit too quick for you, if it isn't like you're feeling imminent doom because you're going so fast, then a good way to get rid of a bit of that speed is to turn more downwind. You are definitely going to slow down significantly when you turn more downwind. But if you're turning more downwind to get rid of speed, just one thing to be aware of is not to take the boat straight downwind. You'll know when the boat's straight downwind. One way would be that the jib starts flicking round onto the new side. Or the other thing would be you should have, in fact, don't go sailing without some sort of wind indicators on the boat. But if your wind indicators would be just flying straight forwards like that, or you might have a different kind of wind indicator on there, but don't sail straight downwind, because the risk, especially if it's windy, if it's not so windy, the risk isn't as great. But there is a risk if you're sailing straight downwind like this and your sail is out like this, there is a risk of the accidental jibe. And the accidental jibe is really not a good look. One reason is you probably capsize. The other reason is you could get whacked on the head by the boom, or if you haven't got a boom, get whacked on the head by the bottom of the sail, which is still not what you want to happen. It's also going to, the main sheet, it's just going to be a mess. So don't go straight downwind, have a little bit of angle. All right, but you're saying, no, it's too windy for that. I don't like the way things are going. Make it stop, or at least make it slow down. So with the sails out, we're just going to fairly assertively turn the boat up towards the wind. And because the sails are out so far, by the time we get to this beam reach kind of course, the boat is going to slow down a lot. So there we go. Those are our options there. But what if, what if down here is the beach where we want to go to? And every time we point the boat down there to go there, it feels like maybe the bows are going to go in, like, which, you know, we don't want that. Or it just feels like, whoa, we're out of control here. What can we do there? Yeah, that is a tough one. The best thing that we can do, if we really are just going straight downwind and we want to get back in, but it's too much, is we want to get the boat into the wind completely, and then we want to drop the mainsail. This is by far the best thing we can do. Because once that mainsail's down, if you are dropping the mainsail out on the water, especially in strong winds, you are going to need to roll it up, and I would tie it onto the trampoline so it doesn't blow off the boat, because then we've got a real mess on our hands. So drop the mainsail. And in fact, first very strong wind video that I make once I'm back on the water, we're going to do these sort of exercises, hoisting and dropping the mainsail on the water with loads of wind, just to show that it isn't as hard as you might feel. Of course, single-handed on the Dart 15, not quite so easy to drop the mainsail, because the Dart 15 has got at the top of the mast, the hook, and then the ring on the halyard. So you've got the rope that goes around a pulley there, and then the sail would be like this here. The ring and hook method of holding the sail up, which has to be said, that is probably one of the more difficult systems to drop the sail on the water. But as long as you know which way you need to rotate the mast, just make sure you're on the correct, the boat is unlikely that it's going to want to sit directly into the wind for very long. So if it's got a bit of a side to it, you want to make sure it's on the side, on the tack, so that you pull the sail up, and when you rotate the mast, it's going to rotate the ring away from the hook, not towards it. But yeah, this is going to be something that's needed to be demonstrated in the summer once we're back on the water. Now, if this seems like a little bit of a stretch to do this, the other thing we could do to get downwind, if we really don't like the way things are going, again, turn the boat head to wind, let the downhaul off so the sail doesn't flap, and then get to the front of the boat onto the bow, and then we're going to sail the boat in backwards. Now, you might have seen this when I was in sailing on Lake Lanier, Georgia. Did actually do this as an exercise. We landed the boat backwards. Works brilliantly as long as you've got a bit of space either side of where it is the boat, where the boat's upwind of, because you're not necessarily going to be able to accurately place your boat into a very specific spot. So as long as you've got a range where the boat could end up, then that's going to be fine. But I think in most places, by the time you get a few boat lengths from the shore, you should be able to put your feet down, hold on to the boat, and then you can physically tow the boat by hand to where it is that you want to get to. All right, so there we go, Patrick. I hope some of that is of use. The other way we can get downwind, we did this in the survival sailing, or I think we also did a video called something along the lines of might have been 5 ways to get downwind when it's too windy. Another way is to actually capsize the boat, drift downwind with the boat either on its side or upside down if the water's deep enough. But that does require more commitment. So that, I would say, the capsized boat downwind drift is more of a life or death kind of tactic to use if you really can't see another way of getting the boat to where you want to go. There we go. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, back to the live chat. All right, we've got searching for purpose in the live chat. I hope you find it at some point. And searching for purpose says, my son and I are currently refitting a Prindle 16. Very nice. If you don't know what a Prindle 16 is, check out the video on Sunday and then you'll know. Neither of us have sailed, but your videos have helped us understand the concepts and are looking forward to the weather to break. Yes, great stuff. I'm really glad that the videos have been of help. Now you may ask, why are there no Prindle videos on Joyrider TV? Why are there no Dart 15 videos on Joyrider TV? It's because I don't have immediate access to those types of boats. That's basically it. The boats that you see on Joyrider TV, it's probably quite obvious, I suppose, are the boats that I've got access to, and I try to mix it up a fair amount. Granted, I do sail a Hobie 16, possibly more than definitely more than anything else, but that is because the Hobie 16 is just the most practical. And if you like with the 16, it's like if you can do it on a Hobie 16, you can probably do it on anything because it requires a bit more technique. There we go. All right, Scott says, curious on your thoughts on using black pipe to store sails on the trailer versus white pipe. What do you think of a different heat impact on sails? Black pipe is more affordable. Yeah, it's a good question. I think the white pipe, because is this also obvious that if it's in direct sunlight, a black pipe section that you're storing your sails inside is going to get a lot hotter than a white one. Yeah, so if possible, white one definitely better. But if you've got no choice, then of course better than just having direct UV on your sail. Or get it in one of Chris Picknally's sail bags from Flying Fish Arts. Very nice. But definitely with a laminated sail. That's a sail which is made of like a mylar sailcloth or a Hobie 17 mainsail for sure. But so the two types of cloth, we've got what's called the woven sailcloth, which you'd have on a boat like a Prindle 16, Hobie 16, Dart 18, Dart 15. If you don't know what these boats are, good. It's all right, I won't say it again. Done it now. Now, those sailcloths aren't quite as delicate when it comes to the heat, whereas the laminated sailcloth, now this is much more delicate when it comes to heat, because the laminated sailcloths are actually made by gluing layers together. And if they're exposed too much heat, too much of the time, the quality of the glue is going to degrade, meaning you'll get delamination and your sail will give up a lot sooner. So much better to, if you can, put it in the box on your trailer. And if you're not, you know, if it's for the weekend, then okay. But when you get home after the weekend, try to store your sail where it's not going to be exposed to any really hot conditions or damp. Yeah. Thank you, Scott, for dropping that one in the slot. Nicholas is with us. I wanted to thank you. I learned to sail a catamaran with your videos. We have success. Yes, brilliant. Today I have a C2 that is smoking. Yeah, nice. This is great. Thanks a lot. Greetings from Buenos Aires in Argentina. Very nice. Thank you very much for tuning in and letting me know that the state of catamaran sailing is good down in Argentina. Of course, some of the best catamaran sailors in the world are, of course, from South America. So, yeah, it's not like we didn't know. But thanks very much for getting in touch. All right. Next, we have got Marty on board. Marty, the who is from sorry, not on board, but in the preloaded. Marty from New Zealand, but lives in Switzerland. He's got a question. Question about sailing cats with loose-footed mainsails. Yes, two different types of boom arrangement on a catamaran, either loose or tight-footed. The tight-footed mainsails tend to be the older designs, like the Hobie 16 and 14, where the bottom of the sail actually goes into a track on the boom, whereas loose-footed Hobie 18, Hobie 17, oh, I see Marty is talking about completely loose, like no boom. Yeah, three types: tight-footed Hobie 16, Hobie 14, loose-footed F18, Tornado, Nacra 5.2. Don't know what. It's all right. Sunday, you'll find out. Yeah, loose-footed, where the boom doesn't have the sail fed in. It's just attached at the front and the back of the boom or the sail. And then no boom. Yes. So if you have no boom, how to use the Traveller on this rig? Is it different to using one which has got a boom? Good question. But the answer is not really any different when you haven't got a boom. The difference the boom makes is it gives more control over the bottom panel of the mainsail. But yeah, so two features of having the boom is you've got that extra control of the bottom of the mainsail, because with the out haul, you can stretch the bottom, flattening off the bottom part of the sail. And the second thing that the boom does for you is it gives more leverage. So, boat, mast. Sorry, the boat wanted to be on this tack. Boat and mast. Here we go. Sail. And then, can we have a boom? Yes, we can. So there's our boom. And if we exaggerate the boom, when we've got a boom, the main sheet blocks can pull from further back, which gives us more leverage on the back edge of the mainsail, which means we can get more tension into the leech of the mainsail. Whereas when we haven't got a boom, it's more likely that the mainsail can't be as big, because if it comes back to here, no boom, and we're pulling from here, it's going to just bend the bottom of the sail because there's nothing to hold it out. So the mainsail can't be any further back than the traveller track if we haven't got a boom. And we haven't got that extra leverage. So it's still going to do the same thing. So the end result is going to be the same, but we're not going to have quite as much control over the shape of our mainsail without a boom. There you go. Thank you very much. All right, we are cracking on today. By the way, apologies that there was no Q&A last week and I didn't mention it. It was a last-minute decision that had to go away with the family. So there we go. Thank you. All right, next one is from Marcos, who, now this is a little bit outside of my realm of expertise, but we're going to go for it anyway. He's this year we're taking a Dragoon 420 in Greece. And again, it's a similar question actually, and doesn't understand what to do on the Traveller on a larger catamaran. So the Dragoon 420 is what you might call a yacht. It's like, I don't know, it's the 420 42 feet long, but a big catamaran where you sleep on board, you've got a kitchen, all this sort of thing. It's called the galley, I believe. So with the bigger catamaran, what we can do with the Traveller, if this is the boat, oh, it wouldn't have beams like that, would it? It'd be more like this. With the Traveller, we've got the ability to actually pull the Traveller. We can let it out like we would do on a small catamaran, but we can also move it to windward as well. So with the wind coming from here, if we wanted to, there's our Traveller in the middle. We could move the Traveller this way, which is the only difference that we've got with one of these big boats. And why would we want to do that? If we move the Traveller that way, then what that means is it takes less tension in the main sheet. Like, the thing that amazes me with some of these big boats is you don't have much more purchase in the main sheet than you would do on a small boat like the ones that we talk about. So to get the boom in the middle, you can't get enough tension in the main sheet. So what we do is we bring the Traveller to the windward side. If anybody out there is an expert or experienced in this sort of sailing, then do correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, of course. Move the Traveller to windward so we get the mainsail in the middle. And then the other thing that this is going to do is put more twist in the mainsail. And what this twist is going to help us with is spilling power. So it's going to help just to lose power out of the main whilst still being able to have a degree of performance. Yeah, there we go. That is all that I understand on this topic. And the other thing with these big boats is when going for a jibe, if you've had the Traveller out, you want to control it going across. So perhaps with the Traveller controls, you'd bring it into the middle before the jibe the boat, and then let it out, rather than having all this weight slamming across. There's a lot of power in there. So we have to be careful. There we go. All right. So we're still cracking on. Been going almost for an hour now. So no further questions in the live chat, please, unless they are accompanied by a super sticker. In that case, we can make an exception. But this one comes from David, and this is the question that has been raised many times, and it is a question that is reasonably ambiguous to answer. But yeah, once again, I've been in touch with a friend of mine, Gavin Colby, who is an expert when it comes to Hobie 16s. He used to be the world champion. He's Australian, nice guy. And we're talking about Dolphin striker tension on the Hobie 16. How do we know if we've got the right amount? All right, so sorry, let's draw a picture first before we go into it. So as we know, on a boat like a Hobie 16, we've got quite a lot of bend in the front beam, but perhaps your boat is more like a tornado, where if you were to look at it, the beam would seem perfectly straight. But on both of these types of boat, we've got a Dolphin striker, which is this assembly that comes down under the beam like this. And what this does, thanks, Ollie, for your super sticker. Very kind of you. Thanks. What the Dolphin striker does is it kind of braces against all of the pressure of the mast. Like the pressure in the mast is all pushing the beam downwards, and without anything to help to reduce that pressure or to counter that pressure that's pushing down, we'd just be snapping beams all day long. So the first job of the Dolphin striker is to give us more strength to the front beam. But that's not enough. What we can do with the Dolphin striker is we can actually alter what you'd call the toe in of the hulls. So looking at the hulls, you'd think, yeah, okay, they're pretty parallel. You'd think you want your hulls parallel, but basically the lighter that you are, if you really want to get the most out of your boat, then if you have your hulls towed in, so they're coming in at the bow, so the bows are closer together than the sterns, then that is going to help you if you're a lighter team. Before we go into that anymore, actually, what we're doing also with the Dolphin striker is, rather than just having it so it holds the beam straight, so like on a 16, the beam has actually been made when it was machined with a curve in it. So if you took the Dolphin striker off your Hobie 16, the beam would still be pretty much the same shape, but we're not putting the Dolphin striker on just to kind of keep the shape the same. Like if it was straight, like on your Tornado, we are putting some pressure on to put a slight amount of curve. So a very slight amount of positive curve or more curve, so that then the beam can't bend to straight. Because if at any point the beam, like in this, if we kind of have in our mind that straight on the Tornado is effectively the same as the factory amount of bend on a 16, if the beam goes any straighter than that, then that's when we're in the danger zone. That's when we could start looking at damaging the beam. Damage means snap. So we want to have a bit of positive bend regardless of what type of boat we're sailing. Of course, some boats don't have a Dolphin striker, but like the Dart 18, for example. And that is because the boat isn't too wide. The wider the boat is, the more effect the Dolphin striker is going to have. And the rig on the Dart 18 isn't too powerful for the strength of the beam. That's what it is. Whereas on a Hobie 16, very powerful rig, and all of this bend needs support. So what is the right amount? Well, first of tension in the Dolphin striker, we've got a nut that can be adjusted at either side. And as we tighten these nuts up, it's basically going to push the middle of the beam upwards, which is going to put more bend into the beam. What this is also going to do is, as we bend the Dolphin striker more, if you think, if this beam is bending, that part of the boat is getting narrower, which is going to bring the bows inwards, and to a certain degree, the sterns are going to come out, albeit a small amount, but it makes a difference. So the first thing we're looking for when we're adjusting the Dolphin striker is just giving the bar a whack with your hand. If it rattles, then it means there's no tension in it at all, and you definitely need to tighten it. And we need to tighten it evenly on both sides. So you can look at the amount of threads on the ends of the bar, tightening up evenly on both sides. And what we're looking for as our starting point is when you hit it with your finger or with a spanner or with anything at all, bit of wood, it makes a resonant noise. Yeah, resonant noise rather than a rattle. That means there's tension in it and we are supporting the beam adequately. Because with that amount of tension in and it makes that noise, it means that the beam is being supported the correct amount. Okay. Now, if we want to get more technical, what Gavin has said is we're actually going to measure the towing of the boat. To start with, we want to take the rig off the boat if we're going to be doing these sorts of measurements. We want to have the boat somewhere which is flat, like best would be on your trailer, where the boat is definitely flat. And the measurements that Gavin said are, we're going to measure between the bow tang, the bolt of the bow tang on both bows like this. And then we're going to measure between the center of the rudder pins. So on a 16, we know that the rudder pins are towards the outside of the hulls. So that's already going to be wider at the back before we even start. And the range that we're working with in the difference of these measurements is, for heavy teams, we want it to be 5.5 inches less at the front, and for lighter teams, 5 inches. Now, if you go for this sort of measurement and immediately you're like, these numbers are not going to work out with my boat, then don't force it. Again, if you're getting this resonant sound when you whack the rod, you're in the right ballpark. So the difference, if we over tighten the Dolphin striker, so not enough tension in the Dolphin striker, it's going to crack in the middle there. Too much tension in the Dolphin striker, we're going to crease it there and maybe there, where it goes into the castings. So there's definitely an amount of range that we've got to play with. So do be careful. But if you're thinking, all right, we're at 3 inches difference here, we're a heavy team, we need another 1/2 inch. All right, let's wind it up and we'll just be really careful about it. That is what we are looking for there. All right, so last question of the day, or checking in actually, we've got Max in Rosenheim, Germany, just coming in from the water, Lake Simsee. Nice session on the Nacra Inter 18. Now, if you're not sure what a Nacra Inter 18 looks like, there's a video coming out on Sunday, which is basically going to inform you of every single type of boat ever made that I think is worth being in the video. Oh, yes. Over 100 different types of catamaran. And maybe in time for Christmas, I know, bit of time there, we'll have it available as like a coffee table book. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, we'll see about that. Yeah, hull flying, freezing cold water, but the sun was out. Well done, Max. That is definitely taking one for the team there. All right, Ollie says, with the boom, where I attached the main sheet to the clue band, is it okay if the clue band coming from the sail is a little bit longer, or does it have to be small as possible on an F18? This is a great question. So, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about there, Ollie. And let's get rid of some of this stuff. Okay, so if this is the boom, if we were looking at the boom down the end, yeah, can we visualize that? And then if we've got the back edge of our mainsail comes to about here, and then so this is looking directly down the back edge of the mainsail. Yeah, there'll be a bit of shape in it maybe. Then what we have on a lot of boats is, rather than shackling the sail onto the boom, we actually have some sort of webbing strap that goes around the boom, which might be something like this. And then the main sheet goes on here. And then we've got our main sheet here. There we go. Lovely. Now, what Ollie is asking is it important that it is tight, the mainsail is tight to the boom, or is it okay to have a bit extra on your strap? All right. I've been absolutely drilled on this when I've been racing the Tornado. And the answer is, you want to have the sail tight to the boom. Otherwise, you're lacking control and you're lacking the ability. If you think about it, when the main sheet is as tight as it will go, if this is loose, if this isn't tight, you're not going to be getting the actual sail into the middle of the boom. In as close to the middle of the boat as you would be if this is tight. So what I like to do is have a separate line. I use Dyneema with a you'd call it a soft shackle. So basically you put a knot or a ball through a loop, and that holds the sail, so it's absolutely as tight to the boom as possible. So that is holding that really tight. And then by doing this, what you can then do, which is quite helpful, is you can actually reduce the amount of rope that you need on the boat by actually having some sort of strop. So if this is our main sheet blocks, if we know how much the maximum is that we're ever going to need to sheet in, we could then put a strop, a longer strop coming from the boom to the main sheet, which means if that is our maximum amount of main sheet that we'd ever have in, it means that our main sheet rope can actually be shorter and less rope on the boat, because, you know, this bit here is 1, but that is like on a boat like an F18, you might have a 10-to-1. So that is that distance 10 times down here, which, you know, it could be a couple of meters of rope that you're saving. And it's not because of the cost of the rope, it's the weight of the rope and the amount of rope that you've got on the boat to get tangled up, to go in the water, and just reducing mess by having less rope. So that is the other benefit you can get by having your boom with a separate line attached to the mainsail. So then you can have a longer strop. There you go, Ollie. I hope that is helpful. Very nice. Lee says, do a small adjustment, Dolphin Striker. Do a small adjustment, sail the boat, repeat the process until you find the sweet spot. And that does work for a great many things on your boat. We've got Hans on board in Germany. Great to have you with us, Hans. Hope you're doing well. All right. So Ollie says, thanks very much. Looking forward to the video tomorrow. Sunday, not tomorrow. Take the day off tomorrow. And then Sunday at the usual time, 6:30 in Greece, 5:30 in Central Europe, or 4:30 in the UK. Anywhere else, you'll have to do the maths because I can't work it out off the top of my head. Anyway, thanks very much for tuning in. It has been an absolute pleasure to be here with you this evening, as it is here, or this morning, as it is where you are, or tonight, if you're in Australia or New Zealand. And I'll see you on Sunday, and then I'll be back next Friday with some more Q&A. So if you've got any questions that you think of for next week, do put them in to the comment section below, and I will respond there. Thanks very much. Okay, do hit the like button before you leave, by the way. Thank you.